It is time for some true crime. Evil wife poisons husband to steal $37 million. Man, let's get into it.
That's why we're moving. We're gonna pay all our bills off that we need to pay off and then take a long vacation.
Less than 24 hours from this footage, Ina Thea-Knoyer's husband, Steve Riley, was life-flighted to the hospital due to a sudden sickness that immobilized his body. Within an hour of being at the hospital, he would pass away.
I thought everybody knew. I'm sorry.
Oh my God!
What the cop doesn't realize at this time is that Ina is a very good actor, and she knows far more about Steve's sickness than she leads on. You see, Steve was less than an hour away from cashing in a $37 million inheritance payment when he became fatally ill. And as the multi-week investigation would progress, detectives would quickly discover that Steve's death was due to poisoning. Someone had killed him, and everyone close to Steve all had dire needs to claim his newfound fortune by any means necessary.
It was like 20-something million. Best thing you can do is get on a plane and don't look back.
Let's do it.
Police department. It's the police department. It's not Chad.
This body cam was recorded the night before Steve Riley's death. Steve and Ina's drunken neighbor had been harassing them and other residents of the neighborhood, so Ina called 911 to de-escalate the situation. What makes this specific footage interesting is not the situation with their drunken neighbor, but rather what Ina would tell police after. Her $37 million inheritance fund that she's just hours away from cashing in.
Sorry.
Thought it was Chad?
Yeah.
Who was Chad on?
Trying to kick in everybody's door.
Who was he
He
on here
was busted to my light and look at the garbage cans.
Who was he fighting with out here?
My fiance. He went for a walk, cool down.
Who's your fiance?
Steve Riley.
Steve Riley?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your name?
I'm Ina.
Okay. Is your fiance hurt at all?
He got gash on his forehead.
Okay. You know, we just want to talk with him too, just to make sure he's all right if possible. There's blood all the way over there. That's just good. So what actually happened tonight? What were they fighting over?
Chad was trying to kick in the door.
Just for no reason, or just
drunk. He does that.
Where do you think your fiance would have went so we could just get his side of the story real quick?
Oh, I don't know.
Does he got a phone on?
No, we don't have a phone until this afternoon.
But this is where Ina reveals something she shouldn't have. Their plans to pay off all of their bills, which had over the years been racking up. And she does this for one reason: to brag.
He gets his inheritance this afternoon. That's why we're moving. We're gonna pay all our bills off that we need to pay off. His lawyer gets here today at 2 to sign the paperwork for his money.
Okay.
And then he's gonna go pay that, and his lawyer gonna pay the rest of his child support, and then take a long vacation.
According to Ina, Steve is set to receive an inheritance from his late uncle tomorrow, which supposedly is enough money to turn their lives around completely. What police don't realize at this time is how enormous this inheritance sum really is. In 2016, Steve's friend had received a call from a man named Marcus Riley, who claimed to be Steve's long-lost uncle from Ireland. He had explained that he finally wanted to get in touch with his nephew, Steve. After connecting with each other, Steve had learned he was in line to receive an inheritance upon his uncle's passing, which was a sum of over $17 million at the time. This was enough to permanently fix the financial struggles he and Ina had been dealing with. A couple of years later, 4 months prior to the footage you just watched, Steve would learn of his uncle's passing from a British lawyer who had contacted him. Additionally, he would learn that his $17 million inheritance had grown to over $30 million due to his uncle's successful investments over the years. That's why Ina cannot hold herself from boasting to the police. Tomorrow, they plan to meet with their lawyer to officially sign the documents and claim the $30 million inheritance fund.
I ain't gonna lie, there's some people who don't deserve money.
The two plan to take the money and live with Steve's long-lost family in Ireland, quote,
Wow.
living in the castles. In less than 24 hours, Ina will be rich. So as officers leave for the night, Ina would make one final statement about how her life was about to change forever.
If you want to step back inside, and then if Steve shows back up, we're going to try to look for him to get his side of the story as well. But if Steve shows back up, if you just want to give us a call or have him give us a call, we'll talk to him then, okay?
Yeah, he's gonna stop by anyways, like I said.
Sounds good.
I've only been able to put like $5 on his fines, but at least it was something.
Okay,
But-
sounds good.
We're gonna pay it all off, all at once.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, she's
Steve
slow.
would return to his and Ina's apartment that night, and the two would patiently wait, not being able to sleep, as they counted down the hours until they would receive their millions. The plan to receive the funds was simple. At 2 p.m., the group would go to the airport to meet their lawyer, who was flying in with their inheritance paperwork. Ina and Steve obliged and would arrive at the airport alongside their two friends, Billy and Wes, before patiently waiting. However, while they were waiting for the lawyer's arrival, Steve would become extremely sick. He would claim feeling drunk, even throwing up in the airport bathrooms. His heart rate was rapidly increasing, and his condition worsened to the point where Wes decided to take him home to help him treat his sickness.
Home? Take him to the
Ina would wait
hospital.
at the airport for the lawyer to arrive. However, he would never show up. And after a couple of hours with no lawyer, no money, and a sick fiancé, she would return home as well. Everyone believed that Steve had suffered from a heat stroke as a result of working on his truck for hours that morning. But Steve's symptoms were far more fatal than the heat strokes he had received in the past, even experiencing fatal signs of kidney failure throughout the night. And in the morning, Steve would become completely unresponsive, forcing Ina to call 911.
911,
What?
what's the status of your emergency?
My husband's really sick. He got heat stroke yesterday, and now he's not waking up. And come on, wake up!
What's the phone number
Hey!
you're calling from?
I don't have a phone number. It's a phone that never got finished.
No
Am I slow? Like, hold on.
offense. But if you're paying more than $30 per month on car insurance, you're getting
Yo, get
ripped
this
off.
off my
Guys,
screen.
so everyone is ditching their car insurance.
I'm not trying to see this.
Getting set.
But hold on. Am I tripping? Like, does she not sound concerned at all? Like, I don't know if she's not concerned or if she just slow. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting slow vibes. I don't know if that's nice to say, but yeah, that's just how I'm feeling.
Shut up. Come on, babe. I've been trying everything. Ice, water.
Okay, but he is breathing.
Yes. He's snoring. He won't talk to me anymore. He won't look at me. He won't open his eyes.
Okay,
Babe!
I've got help on the way. Just keep an eye on his breathing, and if anything changes with his breathing, tell me immediately.
Hello? Yeah. It's Officer Sullivan, Minot PD.
Hang on.
Inside the home, officers would find Steve fully unresponsive, and they would drag him out of the house through piles of
Nice,
trash
yeah.
and filth. Quickly, he was rushed to the nearest hospital, but with his condition so poor, he would be flown to the St. Alexis Hospital to undergo more professional treatment.
Flown?
But before we get to that, I want to help you protect yourself and your family from some video.
Yo! This the first time you ever hit me with an ad.
That Steve believe her after Steve
Hey,
led
yo,
Aura to
Dr.
the hospital,
Insanity.
Ina would explain
Come
to the
on, buddy.
officers that Steve had gotten a heat stroke, which caused his illness. The officers had no reason not to believe her story, so they would comfort her throughout the day as Steve was being treated. Unfortunately, Steve would never again regain consciousness.
What's up, Alea? I'm doing good. How you doing?
This is Billy Burkhead, Steve and Ina's neighbor, and he was with Steve and Ina the entire day of his sudden sickness, even working on the truck with Steve and traveling with them to the airport. Billy simply refused to believe that Steve's death was caused by heat stroke, especially since Steve seemed perfectly fine all day until they reached the airport. Instead, Billy suspected something far more sinister and wanted to share his theory with the detectives. So, the day after Steve's death, Billy would call officers back to apartment 912A to detail his side of the story.
We think she poisoned him.
That's not crazy to say.
So what's your plan right now?
We're making sure nothing goes.
Alright, I got you.
Because you know when they go to jail, they die.
I mean,
People come and clean
well,
them out.
how long are you going to stay here?
Stay here until the sun gets here.
Oh. When's the son supposed to get here?
He's not dead. I told you.
Stop.
He's not.
He's dead.
I just told the son.
And he was poisoned.
Billy's explanation for Steve's death is, well, horrifying. If Ina truly did poison Steve, then his symptoms would make sense, and would add up far more than the idea of him having a heat stroke. However, why would Ina want to poison her husband if they were about to live such a good life? Well, Billy seems to have the exact answer to that question.
The other day, she threw all this stuff out of the yard.
From his house?
Yeah, and he come out and he was holding his head down. And then we're supposed to go up to the airport and meet this guy because he's supposed to get quite a bit of money. Come back, we had to help him out of the car, had to help him in the house. And everything was fine until he come home. And then the next morning, she's throwing all this stuff out. She was supposed to call the ambulance. She never called the ambulance.
Billy thinks that Ina was secretly planning to split with Steve after the inheritance was received, even going so far as to throw his belongings out of the house after they returned from the airport. Even worse is that Ina lied about getting help for Steve after they returned from the airport, pretending to take him to get treated when in reality, they never left the house. Unfortunately, Ina overheard all of this talk and decided to give Billy a piece of her own mind.
I'm taking off. I'm not worthy of telling my husband. Dead or alive.
Hey, stay out here.
Huh?
Stay out here.
I need to take a picture.
Picture of what?
Billy.
Why'd
Here,
you- why'd
with
you-
truck.
Oh yeah, she's slow. Okay, she definitely confirmed my theory. At first I thought she just didn't care. I mean that too, but yeah, she's definitely slow. She's both.
Oh, you can sit over here.
Steve collapsed yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the hospital. I found out he was poisoned.
How'd you find that out?
Doctor told me. I'm just telling you, son, don't ever stop after. They're nasty people. They're nasty.
Ina coincidentally seemed to put the blame on the neighbors, calling them evil people. It's become more clear that Steve's death was far more sinister than officers had first expected. Officers now had a potential homicide case to investigate, but as they went to leave, one officer accidentally broke the news to Ina that her fiancé had passed away.
Yeah.
I thought everybody knew. I'm sorry.
Don't tell me anything. Oh my God.
I guess the son is on his way here. Okay. Apparently the son is on the way here. So.
Son better.
Ina's reaction to her husband's passing is one of the strangest I've ever seen.
Oh.
She starts bawling her eyes out,
For
then
real?
suddenly jumps right back to her normal self.
Oh, she tripping.
So she hadn't even heard the terrible news to begin with. It's becoming more and more clear that something is not adding up. Billy was not the only person to initially put the blame on Ina. In fact, he was only one of many who would come forward with their concerns. In fact, Billy's wife, Lynn, had stated that Ina had made horrifying statements in the past, alluding that if she was to ever kill her partner, she would poison him using an antifreeze. To add to the pile of already incriminating information, Steve would be tested for ethylene glycol in his bloodstream, a key ingredient in antifreeze. To nobody's surprise, the results showed toxic levels of ethylene glycol in his system. This information would serve as the catalyst for initiating a formal homicide investigation into the death of Steve Riley. Following the commencement of the investigation, a series of intensive interrogations would be conducted with all parties connected to the incident, including Ina, to ultimately solve Steve's murder. However, before that, Ina would launch a plan of her own. It must have been made apparent to her that she was in hot water, as the day after this encounter with the police, she would call them back to apartment 912A to explain theories of her own.
Hi.
Yeah. He came up.
Hey.
Okay, what's going on?
I don't know.
We've been here.
He's trying to take Steve's truck
Where's the truck at?
in the garage.
Is this the paperwork on the thing? Or?
No. This is property that Steve was buying after his inheritance got here. I think he left it to his son, but I had to Google where to go to get his inheritance switched over to the people he left it to. I don't know. The day he was supposed to meet his lawyer, apparently, I thought it was heat stroke. Apparently he was poisoned. I'm finding out. With antifreeze.
Alright.
And I don't know how to get a hold of the guy in London with his inheritance. He should.
Oh, in white people terms, she don't give one hoot. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, she did it. I think she's so dumb that she can't even fake like she didn't do it. Like, you could just see it all over her face. Like, tighten up, shorty, tighten up.
Be here in town. He never showed up at the airport. So, you know, trying to figure out why.
Ina seems to conspire to the idea that Steve may have drank the antifreeze himself, or that someone may have poisoned him. However, despite all the suspicion being thrown her way, she can only stay on track for minutes before going back on tangents about her inheritance fund. It was clear at this point that somebody had poisoned Steve. The idea of this being self-inflicted was unlikely, as Steve had a life-changing amount of money waiting for him, and would have had to drink the antifreeze just hours before going to claim the cash. Clearly, Ina can be made out as the lead suspect due to the amount of fingers being pointed her way, but the other potential suspects should not be ruled out either. With this in mind, officers would bring their first suspect in for questioning, Rebecca. Rebecca was another neighbor of Ina and Steve's, who was very involved with the entire case so far, pitching her opinion to police whenever she could. Rebecca was brought in primarily to add to the pile of evidence to confront Ina with later, but as the interview would continue, strange red flags would arise from Rebecca's odd personality.
You guys know my daughter?
Kayla? Yeah, how's she doing?
Yesterday, God works in mysterious ways. She was arrested, released. She said this is the demons that are in her, the spirits that follow her, was able to change her butt cheeks. So maybe they'll stop following her now.
What?
Yeah, well, hopefully she gets the help she needs.
Butt cheeks?
Starting off a homicide interview explaining how demons left your daughter's butt is an interesting way of proving your innocence. But the detective isn't here to judge, rather, to get to the bottom of Steve.
They might not be here to judge, but I'm here to judge. Man, you talking about butt cheeks? Butt cheeks? Come on, man.
Death. So he'll ignore these strange remarks.
Might know some things.
I'm a nosy neighbor.
That's good. I like it.
Well, I know what cars belong, what cars don't, who lives in my neighborhood, who doesn't.
Yeah.
So yes.
That's good. We're investigating Steve's passing just because it sounds like maybe there's something suspicious about what happened.
Whatever I know.
How long have Steve and Ina lived there that you know of?
Approximately 2 years.
Okay. How was their relationship that you know?
The first year was, Steve was looking great, doing great. The past year, I don't know if she suffers from mental illness at times, but her mental state
At
went
times.
downhill.
She
the
suffers
past
all
year.
the time.
When you lose weight, when you're not acting right, shady stuff going on, you're not working. Yes, he was. And it got worse the past couple months.
It seems as though Steve's life wasn't as straightforward as initially thought, having drug issues, weight loss, and possibly depression. Whether or not Ina was a large contributor to these deteriorating issues is something they will soon learn, as this interview would become a pivotal piece of evidence, laying the groundwork to dismantle her defense entirely during the interrogation.
And it got worse the past couple months.
You think likely that seems
Probably.
like whatever. Okay.
Yes.
What do you think she was using?
Yeah.
Okay.
And alcohol use too.
Okay.
Yes.
Both of them with
Yes.
alcohol? Okay. So Steve had mentioned before, like in the past, about getting money.
Yes.
How many, like?
2 million.
The amount Steve had planned to receive was something he kept very secret, often lying to people like Rebecca on how much he was actually getting. As we'll soon find out, this number was much larger than 2 million.
Oh my god.
His uncle passed away, yes. First, he said he was gonna leave it to Ina, and then they were fighting, and a couple months later, he said he went back and changed the will. He told me, he was like, don't tell Ina, but I changed it.
This statement from Rebecca would explain what Ina was talking about last time she spoke to police, and how she was trying to switch the will over from Steve's son to herself. If Ina discovered his plan, it would have given her a strong incentive to do whatever it took to change the will back in her favor, possibly by any means necessary.
Because it started 5 months, and he told me, yeah, I got a will, I'm leaving everything to Ina if something happens. And then it seemed like 2 months after that, he's like, that ain't getting nothing. Because she's a bitch. She said.
So that was the thing.
Yeah, that's how yeah.
Was he ever talking about leaving Ina?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I'm going to get this money and leave her, get my own place, or go back to California.
Okay.
I met her son last night.
Oh, okay. Her son came?
No, I'm sorry, his son. Steve's son.
Yeah.
I'm all.
That's okay.
He flew in. He came up to my apartment. But as he's leaving, she came up, knocked on my door.
When he was up?
Yeah,
Okay.
to get him. I think she was nervous. It was like she was pissed he was up there. And then she's like, I just want to let you know I found the will papers.
So she said in front of you that she found will papers?
Yes. Yep.
Ina clearly had become obsessed with the idea that she was about to live the life of her dreams with Steve's inheritance. But after rumors of Steve leaving her, it seems Ina became terrified that she might not receive the funds and would be stuck with her depressive living conditions. It's now become obvious how these events and Steve's strange death could be correlated to one another. However, as Rebecca had stated herself, she was a nosy neighbor, looking for any rumors or conspiracy theories to help solve the neighborhood drama. I've also cut out over 40 minutes of completely false information Rebecca gave to detectives, which certainly doesn't add to her authenticity. In order to further confirm the accuracy of these claims, 2 more reliable sources would be brought in the following day: Steve's son Ryan and Billy Burkhead. If anyone would be able to give proper insight into Steve's life, it would be these 2, as they were by far the closest people to Steve.
We're assigned the case of your dad's passing. You're really the only next of kin that's maybe had a relationship with your dad, it sounds like?
Yeah.
Okay. Did he ever talk to you about Ina when you guys talked in the last year?
Yeah. He was talking about how he was getting a large sum of money, and he kind of just wanted to leave her because she didn't really have a job and was like leeching off of him.
Did Steve ever talk about leaving Ina?
All the time. Every day. She talked about poisoning Steve and me because we're always together, and she didn't like that. And I don't know how much it was. It's supposed to be, it's way up there in the money. It was like 20-something million. Best thing you can do is get on a plane and don't look back.
Yeah.
I said, that's the best thing you can do.
Almost every piece of information the detectives receive leads straight to Ina as the killer. It also makes sense why Ina hated Billy and Steve's son so much, as they knew far more information than she would have liked about the inheritance and her schemes to obtain it. These interviews wouldn't last long, as detectives got all the information they needed from the two and could directly confront Ina with it. But before leaving, they would break disturbing news to Ryan, which would make this case even more of a terrible tragedy.
So this inheritance now, I'm thinking that's the same thing we're thinking. Which, I mean, I obviously don't know for sure, but by all accounts of looking at it, it looks like it's a scam. Looks like it's the letter has different fonts in it and things, and so, and the fact that your dad had gone there several times to meet with some lawyer never showed up today.
Bro! So bro got killed over false money, dude? Oh my gosh. Yo, these dudes are fake greedy. They was beefing over Monopoly money. Oh my gosh, bro. R.I.P. Steve, man. Yeah, Steve.
Airport.
That and all the emails that they tried to send back to the sender of those emails, it always came back undeliverable.
The inheritance was a scam. Steve had lived for the past 7 years under the impression that if he just patiently waited, living through his terrible living conditions, he would come out with more money than he could dream of and finally enjoy life. Even worse was that this very scam that stagnated his life for years may have been the cause of his very own death. With such a pity of a case, detectives would go on to interview a handful of other suspects in order to get as much information as they possibly could to help break down Ina's defense. And after multiple days of interviews, the day finally came to confront Ina with everything they've gathered. But despite all this evidence against her, officers knew they would have a hard time prosecuting Ina without a confession or incriminating statements, and that's exactly what they were determined to get. Inside this cut-down 1.5-hour interview, you'll see some of the most clever interrogation tactics I've ever shown on this channel, slowly dismantling Ina's story until all she has left is an incoherent string of lies.
So, like I said, we have been just talking to everyone, like Billy, Wes, everybody that kind of just knew Steve, just to get an idea of like what was going on in his life. So, you and Steve were in a relationship? Yep. Okay, how long had you guys been together?
Yep.
13 years.
Okay. Where did you guys meet?
Homeless shelter.
In
buffet dinner.
In North Dakota?
Washington.
In Washington, okay.
So you telling me that you think that what are the odds you're homeless? Then after y'all been together for years, you randomly get an email from God knows who saying that you'll get $27 million. And then after that, your wife finds out. Then your wife finds out and now she wants the $27 million. Then you go to meet the lawyer and they didn't meet you. And then you still think that you're getting the $27 million. You really think that if you were getting $27 million that the lawyer wouldn't have been there? Come on now. Bro. I told you they're slow.
The detectives would go on to get more information about Ina and Steve's early relationship, but it wouldn't last long before Ina would start conspiring against Billy and others she wanted to paint as suspects.
And I begged him to, stay away from. We've even gotten into fights.
To stay away from Lynn?
Billy and Lynn.
Okay.
I don't like calling people nasty, and they've seen them worse than Steve because he's tall and mean looking. People were intimidated by him.
Okay.
Just by his look.
So why would you want him to stay away from Billy and Lynn?
Because they're really, really nasty people.
Okay.
Felonies, breaking into places.
Okay.
I knew they did more than pot, smoking more than pot.
Did Steve smoke more than marijuana?
No, he's allergic to marijuana.
Okay.
Me.
Did he use other drugs?
How do you find that out?
Not for the longest time.
Was he using? Who was using?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
No.
No.
After that, after he got the max the last time.
Yep.
He's like, screw this.
Okay.
I'm gonna just do what I want and want what I want.
Okay. So that's when he started using?
I think so.
Okay.
This would be the first of Ina's lies during this interrogation. She knew Steve had been using long before the incident she described, but in order to make Billy seem like the villain in their lives, she wanted to make it seem as though he was the reason for Steve's drug use. Take note of Ina's body language while she clearly lies. She glances up and avoids eye contact, constantly fidgets and scratches her skin, and most notably, stutters and slurs on her speech as she tries to make up a story. Keep this in mind for the rest of the interrogation, and you'll be able to accurately point out when Ina isn't telling the truth. But now, the police would ask her perhaps the most intriguing question. What exactly did she plan to do with the inheritance money?
So when did he find out about this inheritance?
I want to say 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
Okay. So what is the inheritance? I know you had shown that first day Lieutenant Dakinite came, you showed us kind of that letter that was on Steve's phone. Is that's the inheritance? That was the letter? Okay.
And he was talking to an actual lawyer, I guess.
Okay.
From London.
So this lawyer reached out to him and said he's...
I guess. I don't even know how he found out about it. It just appeared. And he was reading that the money wasn't cursed or whatever. Every single person that went for the Riley money over there, even this 21-year-old, had passed away.
Clearly, Ina is running out of resources to take suspicion off herself, and the detectives won't take long before making her abundantly aware of how horrible of a liar she is. But for now, they'd like to get some more information on this inheritance, and if Ina would admit to trying to claim it all for herself.
How much money was it?
It ended up, it was supposed to be $17 million, $17,500,000. So, but with all the property sold off, it ended up being $37 million.
So there was cash and then properties were sold.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I gave all the information.
Who was it supposed to be coming from? Who was the family member?
Marcus something Riley.
Was that a brother or
uncle?
That was an uncle. Okay. Did he live
in Ireland?
Okay. How did it get to, is it starting to be that the lawyer is starting to give him like a time that he's coming to Minot?
Yeah. That's pretty much when he kept saying, I'm going to show up at this time. And Steve would ride down there and he wasn't there. And then you get the email afterwards that he wasn't going to come until later and then later.
Okay.
The detectives would spend the next 25 minutes trying to understand Ina's timeline for the day they planned to receive the inheritance. Whenever she gave a time for when the group went to the airport, she would conveniently change that time entirely, just a few minutes later. But one detail would stay the same. Unlike her original claims to officers on the day of the murder, she would insist that Steve had never gone to the airport, but rather Wes had gone instead to represent Steve. This was confusing, but Ina's reason as to why Steve couldn't make it to the airport would make just as little sense.
Because he was drinking beer all day, he was working in the garage, he was spray painting his truck, with the doors and the windows closed, barely drinking any water.
So he consumed almost a case of beer in...
Oh, he can drink more than that.
Pay attention to Ina here. She's carefully crafting a story to deflect suspicion, but the detectives came prepared.
I've seen him drink a couple cases.
But on that day...
Yeah, it was a case of beer.
From probably 6 or 7 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, so 5 to 6 hours. Does that sound right?
Probably.
Okay. Did you drink anything else?
Just a glass of water and his tea. I made iced tea because he begged for iced tea.
Steve had no traces of alcohol in his system the day of his death, proven by a blood test and toxicology. So detectives know, clearly, Ina is lying through her teeth.
So I just have a lot of concerns here, okay, and I'm just going to be honest with you. You told the paramedics when they were there that morning or afternoon that he had been drinking till 5 in the morning, that he had been consuming alcohol. That's on body cam. Okay, you said he was drinking all day the day before and that he drank his last drink at 5 a.m. Okay, and now you're telling me he didn't drink. That's not what you say on the video, okay?
I want to see this video.
Okay, well, I'm not going to show you the body cam. I'm just telling you that that's what's on there. There's reports that Wes came to the house that morning and you said that Steve was at the walk-in clinic. He wasn't at the walk-in clinic.
Steve didn't want to see Wes anymore.
Okay, but Steve wasn't at the walk-in clinic.
He was at the hospital.
He wasn't at the hospital.
He just left with the ambulance when Wes showed up there.
Bro, she's an idiot.
That's not what's been reported to us. Wes was there prior to.
Yeah, the timestamps prove that.
I want a lawyer.
Okay.
It's too late now. You already
Realizing she's running out of options to defend herself, and with the detectives closing in, Ina resorts to something surprisingly clever as a last-ditch effort, asking for a lawyer.
Am I being arrested?
Nope, you're not being arrested. We're just talking. So, but if you want a lawyer, we can stop talking right now. That's fine.
But I'm telling you the God honest truth.
Whoa.
I don't know what happened.
Uh-oh, don't put it on God. We all know you lying.
I wasn't there. I wish I was there. I wish I was with him every second of the day that day. I wish I watched every single, but I'm not his goddamn mom.
You asked for a lawyer, so we're just gonna end this now. Okay, I'm not gonna talk anymore. All right.
She's just.
You guys are so unbelievable.
Grasping at straws.
Fucking weird.
The second Ina realized the detectives saw right through her story, she folded under the pressure and insisted on a lawyer. Ina had finally realized her game was over. Following this interrogation, Ina would roam free while detectives scrambled for concrete evidence that she had poisoned Steve. Ina would continue fighting for her innocence, making more deranged theories, such as Steve drinking the antifreeze out of shame that the lawyer was a fraud, or that she had too been poisoned just months prior. Unfortunately for her, police managed to file a search warrant on apartment 912A, finding multiple alarming items. An old Windex bottle without a cap, containing a bright green liquid suspected to be antifreeze, as well as a Coors Light bottle containing antifreeze, found in the garage Steve had been working in that morning. This exact Coors Light bottle was what Ina used to poison Steve with. Antifreeze contains ethylene glycol, an ingredient that makes the liquid taste sweet. By mixing this with tea, Steve was fully unable to tell this fatal substance apart from his typical morning tea. Additionally, by hiding the liquids in the dark Coors Light bottle, Steve was unable to see the bright green color of this drink. With all of this newfound, completely incriminating evidence, as well as the numerous lies and false claims Ina had told law enforcement, she would finally be arrested on October 30th, 2024.
Who's that?
I know.
Please lock up my house.
Yeah, we'll lock up the house for you.
I'll give you the keys, but
Shoot, the house ain't the only thing getting locked up.
why me?
It's alright.
Huh?
We let you smoke a cigarette, you're gonna be decent?
Well, I'm decent all the time.
I never dealt with you, so just don't
Never been arrested before like this. I've never done anything. I haven't done anything. It seems like I'm an easy scapegoat. Because all I am is an easy scapegoat. That's all I've ever been. If I was gonna kill him, I would have killed him the day he lied to me and I found out he was doing drugs.
Just gonna grab you honestly on
Okay, so there's a motive. Idiot, like
physically.
Yeah, I'm a physical woman, not a.
Nobody out here to watch the dogs? Just you? No friends or anything?
Only one here.
You have any friends at work that would take them? We just don't want them to die in there, alright?
Why? How long are you holding me?
We don't know.
Forever.
So we'll have our officers grab the dogs. We'll put a hold on them, alright?
6 months following Ina's arrest, she would sit down in the courtroom for one final time. accepting a plea deal for the murder of Steve Riley. It had been a matter of principle for Ina throughout this entire investigation, staying true to her word no matter how delusional it sounded. But in this courtroom, Ina was left with no choice but to finally confess. Ina Thea Knoyer was charged with murder, intentional, knowing, or with extreme indifference of an adult victim. She was sentenced to life in prison. Her first chance at probation will come in 2050.
Good video, man. That was a good video, man. Like she was just an idiot, like the whole video. Like, I've never experienced anything like that.